For as long as men had dropped bombs from aircraft, those bombs had been dumb things, falling where gravity and momentum took them, their accuracy a matter of luck, skill, and careful calculation. A bomber pilot could aim, could time his release, could do everything right, and still watch his bomb fall harmlessly into the sea beside a moving ship. Hitting a warship maneuvering at sea, twisting and turning to evade attack, was one of the great challenges of aerial warfare, a problem that consumed the efforts of air forces on all sides. And then, during the war, German engineers solved that problem in a way that no one had managed before. They built a bomb that a man could steer, a bomb guided by radio from the aircraft that dropped it, a bomb that could be flown onto its target with deadly precision. This is the story of one of the first guided weapons ever used in war, a weapon that pointed the way toward the future of warfare itself. This is a story about innovation, about a technological leap that changed what was possible in warfare, and about the engineers and scientists who pushed the boundaries of what weapons could do. It is a story about the dawn of guided weapons, the beginning of an era in which weapons could be directed to their targets rather than simply aimed and released. And it is a story about how this revolutionary weapon was used, the damage it caused, and how the Allies responded to a threat unlike anything they had faced before. To understand the significance of this weapon, you have to understand the problem it solved. Throughout the history of aerial bombing, accuracy had been a persistent challenge, especially against moving targets. A ship at sea, particularly a warship capable of high speed and sharp maneuvers, was an extraordinarily difficult target to hit with conventional bombs. The bomb, once released, followed a ballistic path determined by the speed and altitude of the aircraft and the force of gravity. The bombardier had to predict where the ship would be when the bomb arrived, accounting for its speed and direction, and release the bomb at exactly the right moment. Against a ship that could change course to evade the falling bomb, this was a daunting task, and most bombs missed. This challenge of hitting moving ships was a significant problem for air forces seeking to attack naval targets. Warships were valuable and dangerous, and the ability to sink them from the air would be enormously advantageous. But the difficulty of actually hitting a maneuvering ship with conventional bombs meant that air attacks on warships were often ineffective, with bombs falling harmlessly around the target as it twisted and turned to evade them. What was needed was a way to guide the bomb to its target, to correct its course after release, to ensure that it actually struck the ship rather than the sea beside it. It was this problem that German engineers set out to solve, and their solution was revolutionary. They developed a bomb that could be guided to its target by radio control. The concept was ingenious. After the bomb was released from the aircraft, an operator on the aircraft could control its flight, sending radio signals to adjust its course and guide it toward the target. The bomb was equipped with control surfaces that allowed its flight path to be adjusted, and the operator, watching the bomb as it fell, could steer it onto the ship. This transformed the bomb from a dumb projectile into a guided weapon, capable of being directed to its target with a precision that conventional bombs could not match. Now we should be honest about the history here, because this guided weapon is a real and well-documented part of the history of the war, and the story deserves to be told with accuracy. What follows is grounded in the genuine historical record of this revolutionary weapon, though we will tell it as a narrative to convey its full significance. The core is true. German engineers really did develop a radio-controlled guided bomb, one of the first guided weapons used in combat, and this weapon really was used to attack and sink or damage Allied ships. The details are recounted to convey the revolutionary nature of the weapon and its impact on the war at sea. The way the weapon worked was a marvel of innovation for its time. The bomb was carried by an aircraft and released over the target area. After release, rather than simply falling along a ballistic path, the bomb could be controlled by an operator on the launching aircraft. The operator would watch the bomb as it descended, often aided by a visual marker on the bomb that made it easier to track, and would send radio signals to adjust its flight, steering it toward the target. By controlling the bomb's descent, the operator could correct for the movement of the target ship, guiding the bomb onto the vessel, even as it maneuvered to evade. This ability to guide the bomb after release was what made it so revolutionary and so deadly. The effectiveness of this guided bomb against ships was striking. Because it could be steered onto its target, it could hit ships that conventional bombs would have missed. It could strike maneuvering warships, correcting its course to follow their movements, achieving hits that would have been nearly impossible with unguided weapons. And because the bomb could be guided to strike vulnerable parts of a ship, and because it could be designed to penetrate armor before exploding, it could inflict devastating damage. The guided bomb represented a serious new threat to Allied ships, a weapon capable of sinking or severely damaging vessels that had previously been relatively safe from aerial attack. The weapon was used in combat with notable success, striking Allied ships and causing significant damage. It demonstrated the deadly potential of guided weapons, the way that the ability to direct a bomb to its target could transform the effectiveness of aerial attack. Ships that would have been difficult or impossible to hit with conventional bombs fell victim to this new weapon, which could be steered onto them with precision. The guided bomb proved that the age of precision-guided weapons had arrived, that it was now possible to direct a weapon to its target rather than simply aiming and hoping. The appearance of this guided weapon posed a serious challenge for the Allies, who suddenly faced a threat unlike anything they had encountered before. Their ships, previously relatively safe from high-altitude bombing due to the difficulty of hitting moving targets, were now vulnerable to a weapon that could be guided onto them with precision. This new threat demanded a response, a way to counter the guided bombs and protect Allied ships from them. The Allies had to find ways to defend against this revolutionary weapon, to neutralize the advantage it gave the enemy. The Allied response to the guided bomb threat illustrates the way that warfare is a constant contest of measure and countermeasure. One key vulnerability of the guided bomb was that it depended on radio signals to control its flight. If those radio signals could be disrupted, the bomb could be thrown off course, its guidance defeated. And so the Allies worked to develop methods of jamming the radio signals that controlled the guided bombs, interfering with the communication between the operator and the bomb, causing the bomb to miss its target. This electronic countermeasure, this jamming of the control signals, became an important means of defending against the guided weapon. This contest between the guided bomb and the efforts to jam its control signals represents an early example of electronic warfare, of the use of electronic means to attack and defend in warfare. The guided bomb relied on radio signals, and the Allies attacked those signals to defeat the weapon. This back and forth, this measure and countermeasure in the electronic realm, foreshadowed the electronic warfare that would become an increasingly important aspect of military conflict in the decades to come. The struggle over the guided bomb was, in a sense, a glimpse of the future of warfare, in which control of the electromagnetic spectrum would become a crucial element of military power. What does the development of this guided weapon reveal about the nature of warfare and innovation? First, it demonstrates the way that warfare drives technological innovation, the way that the challenges of combat spur the development of new weapons and capabilities. The problem of hitting moving ships led to the development of a guided weapon, a revolutionary innovation that solved a long-standing challenge. The pressures of war, the desire to gain an advantage over the enemy, drove engineers to develop new and more effective weapons, pushing the boundaries of what was technologically possible. The guided bomb was a product of this innovation-driving pressure of war. The weapon also represents a significant milestone in the Sabi history of military technology, the advent of guided weapons. Before this, weapons were aimed and released, their accuracy a matter of skill and calculation. The guided bomb introduced the possibility of directing a weapon to its target, of correcting its course after release, of achieving a precision that aimed weapons could not match. This was a fundamental shift, the beginning of an era of precision-guided weapons that would eventually transform warfare. The guided bomb of the war was an early ancestor of the precision weapons that would come to dominate later conflicts, a pioneering example of a technology that would reshape the conduct of war. There is a broader lesson here about the transformative power of innovation, about how a single technological breakthrough can change what is possible. The guided bomb solved a problem that had long challenged air forces, the difficulty of hitting moving targets. By introducing the ability to guide a weapon to its target, it transformed the effectiveness of aerial attack against ships. This illustrates how innovation can break through long-standing limitations, can solve problems that had seemed intractable, can change the fundamental capabilities available to those who possess it. The guided bomb was a demonstration of the transformative power of technological innovation in warfare. Consider, too, the way that the development of this weapon and the response to it illustrate the dynamic nature of military competition. The Germans developed a revolutionary weapon, and the Allies responded by finding ways to counter it. This back and forth, this constant contest of innovation and counter-innovation, is a fundamental feature of warfare. No advantage is permanent. No weapon is without a counter. The development of the guided bomb spurred the development of countermeasures, which in turn would have spurred efforts to improve the weapon, in an endless cycle of measure and countermeasure. This dynamic competition drives the relentless advance of military technology. It is worth reflecting on the ingenuity of the engineers who developed this guided weapon, the creativity and technical skill required to solve the problem of guiding a bomb to its target. The development of a radio-controlled bomb, with the means to track and steer it onto a target, represented a remarkable feat of engineering for its time. It required innovations in radio control, in the design of the bomb and its control surfaces, in the methods of tracking and guiding the weapon. The engineers who accomplished this were pushing the boundaries of what was technologically possible, creating a weapon that was years ahead of its time. Their ingenuity, applied to the grim purpose of war, produced a genuine technological breakthrough. The story of the guided bomb also stands as a reminder of how the war served as a crucible for technological innovation, accelerating the development of new technologies that would shape the future. The pressures of the conflict drove rapid advances in many fields, and the development of guided weapons was one striking example. Technologies that might have taken decades to develop in peacetime were created in the span of the war, driven by the desperate competition for military advantage. The guided bomb was part of this wartime explosion of innovation, a technology born of the conflict that would have profound implications for the future of warfare. By the end of the war, the guided bomb had demonstrated the deadly potential of guided weapons and pointed the way toward the future of military technology. Though it was an early and limited weapon, it represented a fundamental breakthrough, the advent of the ability to guide a weapon to its target. The precision-guided weapons that would come to dominate later warfare can trace their lineage back to pioneering weapons like this one, early examples of a technology that would transform the conduct of war. The guided bomb stood as a milestone in the history of military technology, a glimpse of the precision warfare that was to come. So remember the radio-controlled bomb, one of the first guided weapons ever used in war, a weapon that could be steered onto its target from the sky. Remember the problem it solved, the long-standing challenge of hitting moving ships, and the revolutionary way it solved it by allowing an operator to guide the bomb to its target after release. Remember the damage it caused, the Allied ships it struck, and the way the Allies responded by jamming its control signals in an early example of electronic warfare. And remember what this weapon represents: the dawn of guided weapons, a fundamental breakthrough in military technology that pointed the way toward the precision warfare of the future, born in the crucible of the greatest conflict the world had ever known.